अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। साक्षाद्धरित्वेन समस्तशास्त्रैः उक्तस्तथा भाव्यत एव सद्भिः किन्तु प्रभोर्यः प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरोः श्रीचरणारविन्दं यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्याप्रसादान्न गतिः कुतोऽपि ध्यायन् स्तुवंस्तस्य यशस्त्रिसन्ध्यं वन्दे गुरोः श्रीचरणारविन्दम्। सर्वेभ्यो नमस्कारः। We are now studying the Srimad Bhagavatam here in the Dashama Skandha. In the last class, we looked at the first part of the first chapter of the Dashama Skandha. We are going to continue from there now. What is Srimad Bhagavatam? Srimad Bhagavatam is a conversation between the king Parikshit and the sage Shukadeva. Shukadeva Muni is imparting or giving knowledge to King Parikshit on the verge of his leaving this world. He has renounced his kingdom and he is engaged only in listening to Bhagavad-katha. So the Bhagavatam consists of narratives of Sri Bhagavan. It is explained by Sri Vasudeva ji, the author of Bhagavatam, in the first skandha, in the Prathama skandha, how after doing all the other literature, after preparing all the other literature that he has contributed. For example, the Veda was divided into 4 parts by him and assigned to 4 of his most prominent disciples. Then he wrote the Mahabharata so that we could understand the Veda easily. Veda is not easy for us to understand, so to make it easier to understand, he captured the essence of the Veda in Mahabharata. So the Mahabharata is also called the Panchama Veda. But even after composing Mahabharata, he was feeling something lacking within himself. Although he knew that he had accomplished something good, something phenomenal, he was still feeling not very content. There was some discontentment in his heart, and he was brooding over it. It occurred to him intuitively that it's because I have not described Sri Bhagavan, his activities, his qualities adequately. Maybe that is the reason I'm feeling this way. So as he is sitting on the banks of the river Saraswati and contemplating on this one fine morning, his guru Sri Naradji appears before him. He receives Naradji with respect. Naradji inquires about his well-being, and Naradji then comments on what seems to be bothering him. He says that, look, something seems to be bothering you. Then Sri Vasudevji says, yes, something is bothering me, and this is what it is. Then Sri Naradji advises him that you have not adequately described Sri Bhagavan, his leelas, his qualities, his character. It is only by listening to Sri Bhagavan's leelas, only by listening to these leelas, we come to know about him. We get to know about his excellent qualities, his character, about his other qualities such as the being the all-pervading universal being, etc. And because of that, by knowing all that, our consciousness becomes purified. Our mind is cleared of all its negativity. We get pure knowledge, we develop love in our heart. Pure love comes to us. In fact, in the different angas of bhakti, the first 3, Shravanam, Kirtanam, and Smaranam, they all essentially are about listening, narrating, and remembering Sri Bhagavan in different ways. So Srimad Bhagavatam is all about that. In the Dashama Skandha, which is 1/3 of the Bhagavatam, Sri Vasudeva ji describes specifically Krishna Leela. Krishna appeared in his original form as the Sri Krishna of Gokula and performed various activities in both Gokula and Vraja, and later on in Mathura and Dwarka, and of course in Kurukshetra. So these activities have been described elaborately in the Dashama Skandha of Bhagavatam, which, like I said, spans 1/3 of the total volume of the Bhagavatam. So, in the last session, we heard the first part of the first chapter in which King Parikshit expresses his eagerness to hear about Krishna. And then we also heard about how Bhumi, the deity of earth, she was very troubled because of so many kings doing adharmic activities. They're actually asuras who have taken birth as kings on her. So to seek relief from that, she goes to Brahma, who then goes to Vishnu along with her and with several other devatas and Lord Shiva as well. Eventually, Vishnu says that I will appear on this earth and I instruct all the devas along with their wives to also appear there to participate and help me in my mission. In Bhagavad Gita, he explains, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam shritamyaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So he has explained why he comes here every now and then, every yuga, to establish dharma, to protect the bhaktas, the sadhus, and to destroy the adharmic people. Destroy in the sense, eliminate them, remove them from this earth, and restore peace. So he comes and then he performs so many attractive activities. By listening to those activities, we become attracted to him. So now we continue from the point we left off last time. The action switches to a different place. Shri Shuka Uvacha इत्यादिश्यामरगणान् प्रजापतिपतिर्विभुः आश्वास्य च महिं गीर्भिः स्वधाम paramam yayau. After instructing the devas about what they ought to do and about Sri Vishnu's intention to appear on the earth, to manifest himself on the earth, Brahma left for his abode. Brahma is referred to as Prajapati Patihi. He is the master of the Prajapatis. Prajapatis are uh, people, or you can say devas, as divine beings who are given the responsibility of creating population. Every time there is a pralaya and a srishti, after srishti happens, they have to again create fresh population to perform different things in this universe, and the job of the Prajapatis is that. So Brahma returned to his abode. Shuraseno yadupatir Mathuramavasan Purim Mathuran Churasenanscha Vishayan Bhubuje Pura. So now the action shifts to Mathura. So the master of the Yadus, the Yadu dynasty, Yadu was a great king and his followers are called the Yadus. So Shurasena was a king in that dynasty and he ruled the kingdom from Mathura. Mathura was his capital. And he ruled the regions known as Mathura, Mathura Desha and Shurasena Desha. Rajadhani tatha sabhut sarva yadava bhubhujam Mathura Bhagavan yatra nityam sannihito harihi. Mathura is a place where Hari, Sri Bhagavan Krishna, always resides. It's not only when he manifests before us, but even otherwise, Mathura is a place where he is always present. So this Mathura was the capital of the kings from Shurasena's time onwards. Tasyam tu karhichit chaurihi Vasudeva kritodvaha Devakya suryaya sardham prayane rathamaruhat. So in Mathura, at one point of time, uh, the son of Shurasena, Shurasena is also called Shura, and his son is called Shauri. Shurasya apatyam puman Shaurihi in Sanskrit. So from the father's name Shura, the son's name Shauri, or he's addressed like that. His actual name Vasudeva. So Vasudeva is also called Shaurihi. Shaurihi in Sanskrit, just like the word Shura also means someone who is very heroic, someone who is very brave and courageous. And these actually describe the qualities of Vasudeva as well. So he had just married. He had just married. Kritodvaha means person who had just married. Whom did he marry? He married Devaki. So along with his wife Devaki, Surya means a bride. Along with his bride Devaki, Prayane Rathamaruhat. So he he boarded a chariot. Devaki and Vasudeva boarded a chariot and sat on the chariot to begin their journey. Ugrasena sutta Kamsaha Swasuf Priyachikirshaya Rashmin Hayanam Jagraha Rukmai Ratashatair Vritaha Rukmaihi Ratashatair Vritaha. The son of Ugrasena, another king, Ugrasena, his son Kamsa. Swasuhu Priyachikirshaya, his sister was Devaki. So Kamsa is the son of Ugrasena, and Devaki is the daughter. Devaki is the daughter of Devaka. Her father's name is Devaka. Ugrasena and Devaka are brothers. Ugrasena is the elder brother of Devaka. So therefore, Kamsa and Devaki are cousins. They are first cousins. Okay, they're born to brothers. So his sister, who is very dear to him, Priyachikirshaya, out of love for his sister Devaki, Hayanam Rashmin Jagraha. Rashmi refers to the reins of the horses. So a chariot is driven by horses. So he held the reins of those horses. So he was the charioteer of that chariot. And this chariot was surrounded by hundreds of other chariots, which were golden, which are made of gold. Rukmaihi means Rukmam means gold. So golden chariots surrounded this chariot. So even though he was so rich and powerful, he himself became the charioteer out of love for his sister. So you can see how his love for Devaki, sisterly, brotherly love, is shown here. And it is not uncommon even today that a brother of the girl who has just married drives his sister and her groom to their destination, whatever it is. It's common even today, just after the marriage, right? So that's what it's seen in history also. Chatushatam paribarham gajanam hemamalinam ashwanam ayutam sardham rathanam chatrishat shatam. Now a little bit of elaboration is done on how this day was the best day of Devaki's life. See, in a woman's life, there are certain days which are very, very special, more than just a birthday. Of course, a birthday is special in everyone's life, but uh, to a woman, her day of marriage is extremely special. It is once in a lifetime and it's very, very special. So, and if she has married the person of her choice, then it is even more special. Like in the case of Devaki, she was extremely happy that she had been blessed to become Vasudeva's wife. Vasudeva, a man of great character, very wise personality, and the son of Shurasena, also a very highly respected and dharmic king. So Devaki is a very special day. And on top of that, the gifts which have been given to her. The gifts given to her comprised Chatushatam Gajanam Hemamalinam Gajanam Chatushatam. Elephants who wore golden garlands, 400 such elephants. Ashwanam Ayutam. Ayutam means 10,000. So Ayutam Sardham means 10,000 plus half of that means 15,000. 15,000 horses. Rathanam cha Trishat Shatam. So similarly, Trishat means Shat Shatam means 600. Trishat Shatam means 600 into 3, that is 1,800. 1,800 chariots were gifted to her, along with 15,000 horses and 400 elephants who were decked in golden garlands. Dasinam Sukumarinam Dveshate Samalankrite Duhitre Devakaf Pradat Yane Duhitrivatsalaha. You see, it's not only today, but even always, even at that time, and I think always, a father's most dear child is his daughter, or you can say a daughter is extremely dear to her father, probably even more than a son. So Devaka was, very fond of his daughter Devaki, and in that fondness, he had gifted all those things which we just read in the last shloka, along with 200 Dasinam Sukumarinam Dveshate Samalankrite. 200 maid servants. Very charming maids. Sukumari means not just some maid, but very charming, beautiful, good looking maids who were well adorned. They were well dressed for the occasion. And they also accompanied Devaki so that she will not feel lonely. Normally, some woman goes with the bride to her groom's house for the first time so that she doesn't feel suddenly, homesick or lonely, missing her parents, her brother, everybody. But along with that, somebody is sent here. 200 such servants are sent, not just one person, but 200 maid servants are sent with her to attend to her and make her feel even more special and not homesick. शङ्खतूर्यमृदङ्गाश्च नेदुर्दुन्दुभयः समम् प्रयाणप्रक्रमे तात वरवध्वोः सुमङ्गलम्. So the festivity is so much, so ceremonious that Shankha means conches, Turya means instruments, stringed instruments, instruments which are, blown like trumpets. Mridangascha means drums, Mridanga means drum. Dundubihi also means a certain kind of drum. There are different types of drums. So Dundubi is one type, Mridanga is another type. Neduhu means they all sounded samam at the same time. At the same time, conches, trumpets, drums, so many different types of drums, they all sounded together to mark the beginning of the journey. Prayana prakrame, varavaddoho sumangalam, and to create auspiciousness, to invoke auspiciousness for the beginning of the journey of the bride and her groom to their new house. So everything is fine and good, but just then, what happened? Pati pragrahinam kamsam abhashya aha asharirivaak. Pati pragrahinam kamsam abhashyaha sharirivaak. Asyastvam ashtamo garbho hantayam vahase abudha. Asyastvam ashtamo garbho hantayam vahase abudha. So just when they were starting out, and Kamsa was holding the reins and steering the horses, a voice was heard in the sky, an invisible voice. It said, addressing Kamsa, "You fool, the eighth child of this woman whom you are transporting now will kill you, will be your killer." So everything is going good. Festivity, everything is fine. But suddenly this voice comes in the sky. It's addressing Kamsa as a fool, not as some great personality like he is trying to show himself to be, but as a fool. And it says, "What do you think you're doing? This girl whom you're carrying with so much love, her eighth child is going to kill you." What happens after that? Ityuktas sakhalaf papo bhojanam kulapamsanah bhaginim hantumarabdham khadgapani kache grihit. So a person comes who had just started to transport his sister, suddenly stood up, held his sister Devaki by the hair, kache agrahit, and raised his sword to kill her. Hantumarabdha. So what kind of a character is that? It's described, Vyasdev describes him as Papaha, means he's a sinful personality. He's Kulapamsanaha. He is the disgrace to his Kula. Kula means the clan or dynasty. To his family, his dynasty, his clan, such a disgraceful personality, a sinful personality. Kalaha means low-minded guy, wicked guy, okay, low-class personality. Such a person, he did what can be expected of a person like that. As soon as he heard that voice, immediately he stood up, caught hold of his sister, raised his sword, and he was about to kill her. Did he succeed in killing her? Tam jugupsita karmanam nishamsam nirapatrapam Vasudevo Mahabhaga Uvacha Parisantvayan. So here we see how Vasudeva, sitting next to Devaki, all of a sudden sees this. So at one moment, there is so much festivity, there is happiness, there is joy, and the next instant, there is a voice, and immediately after that, there's this guy who was actually showing us so much love, and now he's standing up and he's going to kill my wife. What's going on? So Vasudeva, being what he is, being a very cool, calm-headed, virtuous personality, very wise person, immediately takes charge. And he does what is appropriate to do. We will read now what he did. So he speaks to Kamsa. And again, Kamsa is described as Nishamsa, means one who is very malicious, wicked personality. Jugupsita karma, a person known for horrible deeds, means this is not the first time he's doing something like this. He has done this kind of thing before. He has killed so many people. He has destroyed so many lives. He has done wicked things before. So he is described as Jugupsita karma. Nirapatrapa. Nirapatrapa means a person who is shameless, who has no sense of dignity or shame. Such a shameless, wicked personality, he now has to deal with. He has to address that person. Okay, so he knows that, and he's married a girl who is very virtuous, very dharmic, but her brother, her cousin, happens to be completely the opposite. But now he has to deal with it, and he is described as Mahabhaga, means a person who is very virtuous, who is very fortunate, got all the good qualities. So now begins Vasudeva's counsel to Kamsa. And we should hear this carefully because it contains very wise wisdom. It not only has Vedantic knowledge, through this, Vyasadevji gives us Vedantic knowledge and also gives us practical wisdom. So let's listen to this carefully. Shri Vasudeva Uvacha Shlaganiya Gunashauraihi Shuraihi Shlaganiya Gunashuraihi Bhavan Bhojayashaskaraha Sakatam Bhaginim Hanyat Striyam Udvaha Parvani. So Vasudeva very intelligently begins not by scolding him or shouting at him, instead, he praises him because he realizes that the only way that I can make this guy stop doing what he's doing is to boost his ego a little bit. So he says, you are such a great personality. You are actually a person who brings fame to the Bhoja dynasty. Okay, just now we heard Kulapamsanaha, person lowest among the clan, but Vasudeva is saying the opposite here because he wants to sort of massage his ego and make him receptive to what he's trying to say. Okay, ultimately, he wants to convince him not to kill Devaki, but he has to begin in some way. So instead of just shouting at him, that's probably what somebody would have done normally. If you see someone attacking your wife or your family member, you would probably go and start hold them and say, "Who the hell are you?" Start shouting and fighting with him. But Vasudeva is not doing that. He's calming him down. He's trying to talk to him in a way that he will listen. Says Shvaganiya Gunaha means you have such great qualities. By Shuraihi means by heroic people. The great heroic people will praise you. They praise you. So how can a person like you, that has such good qualities, how can you even think of killing your own sister, who is actually a woman, not a man who is like you, strong like you. She's weak. She's just a young, timid girl. And on the day of her marriage, that too, not some other day, but on the day of her marriage, how can you think of this? Mrityur veera dehena sahajayate adyava abdashatanteva mrityurvai praninam dhruvaha. He says that you have been instigated to do this thing because you heard that you are going to die. Some voice came and said that you are going to die at the hands of a child of this girl. But do you understand that death anyway is certain? Death is something that is born with us. When we take birth, death also comes with it. It's not only birth which comes to us, but death also comes at the same time. It may be today itself, or it may be after 100 years. Adyava abdashatanteva. But mrityuhu praninam dhruvaha. Death is a certainty. It's a certainty. It cannot be avoided. It's inevitable. You cannot avoid death. देहे पञ्चत्वमापन्ने देहि कर्मानुगो वशः देहान्तरमनुप्राप्य प्राक्तनं त्यजते वपुः. So he says when the body reaches its end, panchatvam means the time of death is also called panchatva. Panchatva means the body becomes again, it merges back into the five elements: earth, water, fire, air, and space. These are the five: Prithvi, Apaha, Jalam, Tejaha, Akasha. So these five elements constitute our Stula Shariram, our gross body. And at the time of death, our body actually merges into these five elements again. It vanishes, right? It vanishes into the earth, whether you cremate the body or you bury it or you feed it to the vultures, different ways in which people dispose a dead body. So whichever way you dispose it doesn't matter. Ultimately, it merges back into the earth and it becomes one of those five elements. It goes back into the five elements. So panchatvam. So dehe panchatvam apanne dehi karmanugo vashaha. So what happens to the living being? The living being does not die with the body. Okay. In Bhagavad Gita, this is the message in the very beginning, the first 20 shlokas that Sri Bhagavan speaks. He says the living being, Atma, is different from the body, Deha. So the Atma is also referred to as Dehi. Dehi means that which has a Deha. The Atma has a Deha, body. The Atma has a body, so it's called Dehi. So the Dehi, Karmanugo Avashaha, by the force or by the propulsion of its karma, Dehantaram Anuprapya obtains another body. Dehantaram Anuprapya obtains another body, and then Praktanam Vapu Tyajate. After getting the next body, it discards the previous body. And Vrajans Tishtan Padaikena Yathaivekena Gacchati Yatha Trinajalaukyaivam Yatha Trinajalaukyaivam Dehi Karmagatim Gatah. Vasudeva elaborates on the previous explanation. He says that this is just like how when we walk, uh, we first take the next step. We put the foot, one of the feet, we place it ahead and then lift the previous foot off the ground. We don't simultaneously lift both feet off the ground while walking, right? Otherwise, it will be like leaping in the air. We don't leap in the air when we walk. We walk by putting one foot at a time, by moving one foot at a time. We first lift one foot off the ground, then we place it at a spot a little ahead. And once that foot makes contact with the ground firmly, we lift the previous foot off the ground. Okay, we may not consciously realize we are doing all these things, but that's how it happens. So he says that is how we walk. Similarly, a caterpillar, how it moves from one blade of grass to the next blade of grass on the ground. It first latches on to the next blade of grass and then leaves its hold on the previous blade of grass or a leaf. It moves from one leaf to the other leaf by first latching on to the next leaf and then releasing the previous one. Exactly in the same way, the Atma, that is each of us, we first obtain the next body. After we latch on to the next body, we release the previous body. स्वप्ने यथा पश्यति देहमीदृशं मनोरथेनाभिनिविष्टचेतनः दृष्टश्रुताभ्यां मनसानुचिन्तयन् प्रपद्यते तत्किमपि ह्यपस्मृतिः. So he elaborates further how this happens. He says, this is not imaginary. It is just like, in a normal lifetime, during the course of a lifetime, sometimes we develop a desire that, we look at a king, for example, or we look at somebody who is very powerful. Okay, we have heard about that person. We don't see him, like we may hear about a god called Indra, or we may hear about somebody rich in this world, but we haven't seen that person. We just heard that he's got so much fame, he's got name, etc. And by hearing about that, or by seeing actually a person like that, we develop a desire to become like that. And the desire becomes intense that I should also be like that. I should also have that kind of fame, name, money, or good looking, good looks, etc. So as we contemplate on such desires become intense inside us. Then sometimes when we sleep at night, we find ourselves in that form. For example, if I have a strong desire to be like a king after seeing the real king and seeing his wealth and seeing the power and the fame and how other people are always attending to him, etc. If I develop a desire in my mind that I should also be like that, how can I be like that? When can I become like that? How can I become? So my contemplation then intensifies. I keep thinking about that again and again and again. Then it will not be surprising if one night when I'm sleeping, in my dream, I have actually become a king and I experience the king's body during the dream. I'm actually experiencing some element, some scenes in a king's life in that dream, right? So, how my existence goes from what I actually am during my wakeful time to that of a king just because of that contemplation, because of those desires. So, this is how a state of existence changes. Our desires and our contemplation drives us towards our next existence. That's what he's trying to say. And we forget, apasmriti, we become forgetful of what we actually are. In the dream, we don't know that we actually are something else. We think we are that king or that powerful personality. Or somebody wants to become, let's say, a sportsman. contemplating on that sportsman's activities, that life, etc. In the night, he finds himself in the sleep being that sportsman or a similar sportsman playing that sport. But when he wakes up, he knows that he's actually not that. So during the dream, how that memory goes away, memory of what he actually is goes away. Similarly, this change of body is basically drawing this analogy to show how when we change our body because of contemplation on what we want, our during our lifetime, desires develop. I want to be that, I want to be this. And desirous of that, we contemplate on that. That desire drives us to contemplate on that, think about it. Our mind becomes more and more absorbed. So that when we eventually leave the body, the next body we get will be along those lines if we are eligible for that. So this is how the transmigration happens, and we forget. Just like in the dream, we forget our wakeful body. So next body when we get, we forget our previous body, completely forget. Yato yato dhavati daiva choditam mano vikaratmakaमापपञ्चसु गुणेषु माया रचितेषु देह्यसौ प्रपद्यमानः सहते न जायते. So at the point of death, the mind actually is running here and there. He says the point of death, normally the mind is going through a turmoil. It recollects one's own past deeds, runs here and there, and thinks of various bodies that can satisfy it. And eventually, by the force, by virtue of its karma, earlier it was described, karma plays a role. It gets a body which is constructed by Maya. Ultimately, the body is a body constructed by Maya, the three gunas of Prakriti, and it comprises the five elements of matter, panchasu rachitam, panchasu guneshu rachiteshu, Maya rachiteshu. So eventually, one is born with a body that one identifies with. One's desires take oneself into that particular body, and one takes refuge in that new body. ज्योतिर्यथैवोदकपार्थिवेष्वदः समीरवेगानुगतं विभाव्यते एवं स्वमाया रचितेष्वसौ पुमान् गुणेषु रागानुगतो विमुह्यति. So he now gives the analogy of a pot of water. It's an earthen pot of water, or you can say oil. And in that, there is a reflection of a real luminary. So, luminary like the sun or the moon, when we look into the pot, we see that reflection there. The reflection is only a reflection, it's not the original body. So, what happens when there is some wind or something? Let's say there's wind blowing. So the pot of the surface of the water or oil shakes. So then it appears the luminary is disturbed inside that. But actually the luminary is not disturbed. Because of the force of the wind on that water, where that luminary has taken its form, appearance there, it appears that the luminary is disturbed. So he's using the analogy to show how the living being actually is pure by itself, but because of its attachment and surrounding, because of its being surrounded by the material gunas, the Maya Prakriti and its three gunas, the forces of its desires, just like the wind causes a disturbance there, the forces of desires which are driven by its ignorance, Swamaya Rajita, by its own ignorance. Swamaya means by the ignorance of that same living being. So these forces, the forces of its desires, they shake the living being out of its normal position, and it becomes deluded. It becomes completely confused. It does not recognize its original self. Its original self is pure. It's completely free from all material influence. It's a happy state, a state of complete clarity, complete knowledge, where it doesn't need to run behind anything to feel happy. But it's deluded. It's completely cut off from that because of the desires to enjoy the material energy, because of the desires to enjoy matter. तस्मान्न कस्यचित् द्रोहम् आचरेत् स तथाविदः आत्मनक्षेममन्विच्छन् द्रोग्दुर्वै द्रोग्दुः वै परतो भयम् आत्मनक्षेममन्विच्छन् द्रोग्दुर्वै parato bhayam. He says, therefore, O Kamsa, you should not do any harm to anyone. Therefore, one should never harm other people. Because of all these factors, one is already in a material situation trapped by one's own desires and so on. And one will attain a body according to those desires. One will go into another body according to those desires driven by karma, and one's suffering continues. So, therefore, if one really desires well being of oneself, one truly desires one's own well being and one's own genuine happiness, then one should not trouble others, because those who trouble others or those who harm others only experience fear in the future. Drogduhu vai parato bhayam. So here Vasudeva warns him. He says that, okay, all this while I praised you and I told you good words and so on. And I told you that being a man of reason, you should not do this because this is your sister's marriage day and so on. So now also know that if you still ignore me and do this, then you will have to only experience fear in the future. So this is called Bheda, means Sama and Bheda. Among the four upayas, Sama, Dana, Bheda, Danda, Vasudeva is using the second one. The first one he used all this while, where he was trying to pacify. Sama means to pacify. Bheda means to create a contrast. So now he's creating a contrast. He says that if you don't do what I'm telling you to do, then you will have to live in fear in the future. Now, then the story goes forward, we see that actually that's what happens. Kamsa continues to live in fear. His fear begins here with the threat that Devaki's child is going to kill him. But it doesn't end there. It's going to be that all along until he dies eventually, Kamsa lives in fear, exactly like what Vasudeva predicts here. एषा तवानुजा बाला कृपणा पुत्रिकोपमा हन्तुं नार्हसि कल्याणीम् इमां त्वं दीनवत्सलः. Look at this girl. She's your sister. She's a bala. Bala means a child girl. Kripana means she's weak. She's helpless. Kripana means one who is helpless, destitute. She's helpless because you're catching hold of her hair and you're about to kill her. She's in a helpless position. She's not in a position where she can fight with you. And Putri Kopama, she's not just your sister, but she's just like your daughter, like your own daughter. And therefore, you should not kill her. She's a Kalyani, means she's on the day of her marriage, and she is cultured girl. She's not just some rogue girl. She's not somebody who has done anything wrong. She's a cultured, brought up in a cultured way, and she's full of good qualities. And you are Dinavatsara, means you're a person who protects the needy and the poor. Being a prince, being a king, that's the job of a king. So you are that. You are a king. So again, he is trying to flatter him, trying to boost his ego so that he will calm down and try to do what Vasudeva is doing. So he says, don't do this. You don't deserve to kill this girl. This girl ought not to be killed. Shri Shuka uvacha evam sasamabhirbedhair bhodyamanopi न निवर्तते न निवर्तत कौरव्य पुरुषादाननुभृतः. So Shukadeva now stops and he tells Parikshit, look Parikshit, even after Vasudeva spoke all this, he used both Sama and Bheda, two of the upayas. And he tried to make Kamsa understand, but Kamsa is Darunaha. Darunaha means a hard-hearted person. Okay? He did not relent. Kamsa did not relent. He is Purushadan Anuvrataha. Purushadaha means those who eat human beings, cannibals, Rakshasas. So Kamsa is described as Purushadan Anuvrataha, a person who is a follower of the Rakshasas, a person who is a close associate, a friend of the Rakshasas. So among Kamsa's close friends were different types of Rakshasas, which we hear about later on, how they came to kill baby Krishna in Vrindavan and so on. So all of these were Kamsa's close friends and associates who, uh, you know, assisted him, and Kamsa relied upon them. So being such a personality, Kamsa was not ready to listen. His heart was not at all affected by Vasudeva's sweet pacifying words. Nirbandham tasya tam jnatva vicintyanakadundhubihi praptam kalam prativyodhum idam tatranvapadyata. So Vasudeva could see that even after I said all these things, this fellow has not budged an inch. There's no change in him. He's about to kill her anyway, right? So he decided that he thought first, he just reflected very quickly, Vichintya contemplated, and then he decided that somehow or the other, I should deceive this guy. I should trick this guy, fool this guy, and put aside, come out of this situation. Somehow I should get out of this situation by deceiving this fellow of his resolve, what he wants to do. What should I do now? So he thought like this, and it's here the word Anaka Dundubihi is used to describe Vasudeva. Vasudeva is an adjective of Vasudeva, Anaka Dundubi. That's another name by which he is referred to in the Puranas also. What does it mean? It means a person during whose birth, at the time of whose birth, the Devas, they beat drums and they greeted him. They invited him to be born. They celebrated his birth on this earth by beating drums because they knew that something special would happen after this child is born. So he's called Anaka Dundubi. Anaka is one type of drum. Dundubi is another type of drum. So he was greeted by Anaka and Dundubi with this beating of these type of drums. So this adjective is used here to describe how Vasudeva is not an ordinary human being, a very special personality. Okay, he's a personality whom Sri Bhagavan chooses to make his father when he appears on the earth. So such a person, okay, it's not an ordinary human being who will get that kind of a blessing. So Vasudeva is very wise, he's very intelligent. He's not just a guy who will panic. So he will think and he will do carefully. So that's what we learn from looking at a person like that. When there is a difficult situation, think before you act. Don't just do something rashly. Mrityurbuddhim मृत्युर्बुद्धिमतापोह्यो यावद् बुद्धिबलोदयम् यद्यसौ न निवर्तेत नापराधोस्ति देहिनः. So now the next few shlokas describe what thoughts went in Vasudeva's mind, not what he spoke, but what he thought. So he thought an intelligent person should try to evade death, should try to put aside or avoid death. To the best of his intelligence, to the best of his ability, he should try to put aside death if death comes, unsought like this. But even after his best efforts, if it doesn't happen, if death still overtakes him or death still, subdues him, then what can be done? There's no fault on his side. He has not done anything wrong. He cannot be blamed for that. प्रदाय मृत्युवे पुत्रान् मोचये कृपणामिमाम् सुता मे यदि जायेरन् मृत्युर्वा न म्रियेत चेत्. So he says, now what I'll do is I will offer this guy my children. When the children are born, it is said the eighth child will kill this fellow. That means at least 8 children will be born. I don't know if more will be born after that, but at least 8 will be born because it says eighth child. So I will promise this fellow that I'm going to give you all my children. And what can happen, it occurs to him that maybe children may never be born to me. How do I know? This voice is saying that now, but suppose children are never born. So my promise will matter only if they are born, or only if this fellow doesn't die before that. Suppose he dies before these children are born. The children may be born, but this fellow dies even before that. Then also it won't matter. Either way, I'll promise him, and now Devaki will be saved if he accepts it. विपर्ययो वा किं न स्यात् गतिर्धातुर्दुरत्यया उपस्थितो निवर्तेत निवृत्तः पुनरापतेत. It occurs to him now that, okay, it's also possible that the opposite can happen. That instead of Kamsa killing my child, the child may actually kill, like the voice says. It may happen that, I will offer the child to Kamsa, but the opposite may happen that the child will actually kill Kamsa. That can also happen because what the voice has said, dhatuhu, it means dhatu means dhata, of the dhata. Dhata means the protector or the maintainer of this universe, the supreme being. Gatihi dhatuhu duratyaya. It is impossible to avoid the intentions or the desire of that supreme being. So it can happen just like the voice says that the child will kill him. That may really happen. Or Upastito nivarteta, that is death that has come now to Devaki, will go away and it may come back to Kamsa. Nivritta punarapatet. It may come back to Kamsa later on. That can happen. Viparyaya means the opposite of what is now seems to be happening will happen if I somehow delay this. Agniryatha daru viyogayogayor adrishtato yanna adrishtato nyatna nimittamasti. Agniryatha daru viyogayogayor adrishtato yanna adrishtatoन्यन्न निमित्तमस्ति एवं हि जन्तोरपि दुर्विभाव्यः शरीरसंयोगवियोगहेतुः. He thinks of a beautiful analogy. This comes to his mind. He thinks that in a forest fire, as the fire is spreading, sometimes from a given tree, it does not go to the immediately adjoining tree which is touching this tree. It leaps to another tree which is not touching this tree at all. And that tree gets burnt, whereas this adjoining tree doesn't get burnt at all. The fire just moves from the current tree to a tree which is far away at some distance by the force of the wind or whatever. And the adjoining tree next to it does not get burnt. This is called adrishta. Adrishta means some unforeseen force, that which is not seen. We can't understand why that happened. So, at the end of a forest fire, you will see that thousands of trees have been burned down, but in the middle of all of that, there are some trees which are just like they are. Nothing happened to them. So you wonder why all the other trees around them are burnt, but that tree alone is standing. How did that happen? Okay, so we saw when the air crash happened recently, 270 people died, but one guy sitting inside the plane, he escaped almost unhurt. He just got a few burns on his skin. Why did that happen? Why did that one guy have to survive? Right? Why couldn't more people survive? Or why did it happen that this fellow did not die? Of course, we would be happy if everybody survived. So, this kind of question is unanswered. The only way you can understand it is that there is some unseen force which makes such things happen. So, he says, evam hi jantor api durvibhavyah, sharira sanyoga viyoga hetuhu. So, similarly, the a living being's connection with a particular body or its disconnection from another body, how it gets a particular body, goes to another body, what kind of bodies it takes is actually unexplained. We cannot explain it by our logic. When he says adrishtam, it means it's not that it's completely unexplained or random. Adrishtam doesn't mean something random. Adrishtam means something that is unseen, which our logic, by our normal means of knowledge, by observation or by logical reasoning, we cannot conclude. There is some unseen force, and of course, in our Indian knowledge system, we understand it is the result of our past activities. What we have done in the past that actually carries forward. So that is called adrishta. Adrishta means the karma that we have done. That's what happens. So Vasudeva is telling to himself that according to the force of karma, things will happen. And so I cannot control who will live and who will die. Maybe Kamsa will die eventually, these babies will survive. I don't know, but I will offer him those babies and let us see what happens. Evam vimrishyatam papam yavat atmani darshanam pujayamasa vaishauриhi bahumana purassaram pujayamasa vaishauриhi bahumana purassaram. So after thinking and contemplating deeply in this manner, Vasudeva decided to do it, and he began by again praising this fellow, Bahumana Purassaram, by offering him Bahumana, honor, honorable words, praising words, very flattering words. He again continued to talk to him. Prasannavadanam bhojo drisham samnirapatrapam manasa duyamanena vihasannidam abravit. So this is how the use of kapatha. You see, when I was taking the Gita classes repeatedly, I mentioned how kapatha is a quality which saintly people discard. Being nishkapat is the very first quality of being a sadhu, of practicing dharma. Dharma does not accept kapatha. Nishkapatha is required. But sometimes when you deal with the adharmic personality, then you have to use kapatha. And so Vasudeva here, prasanna vadanam bhojaha. So he displayed a very pleasing face, a lotus-like face, but he was actually being torn inside. He was feeling very sad inside. Duyamanena manasa. His mind, he was crying. He was crying in his mind, but outside he was showing a very pleasing face to whom Nrishamsam, again, a very wicked personality, Nirapatrapam, a shameless fellow. This shameless, wicked fellow was showing a very pleasing face and he smiled. With a smile on his face, he spoke the following words. Shri Vasudeva Uvacha Nahyasyaste Bhayam Saumya Yad Vaisaha Shariravaak Yad Vaisaha Shariravaak Putran Samarpayishyesyaha Yataste Bhayamuthitam. He says, Vasudeva tells Kamsa, oh, gentle natured person, there is no fear for you from this girl. After all, that voice, which actually has crossed this fear in you, told that it is the children who will kill you, and specifically the eighth child which will kill you. So the fear is actually from the child, from that eighth child, not even the first child, but the eighth child. So I will give you all the children, not just the eighth child, but all the eight children I will hand over to you as and when they are born. And therefore, please free this girl. Your fear is not from this girl, it is from the children, and I will give you all those children. So Vasudeva has contemplated on all kinds of things, and eventually he realizes. And all this has happened in just a few moments. Okay, seeing Kamsa's unwillingness to give any relief to his sister, Vasudeva quickly decided that this is what he's going to make an offer for. So he makes an offer. So in other words, he does a dana. So sama, bheda, dana, the third upaya. Dana is actually bribing. Okay, in trying to pacify, trying to come to negotiate, you bribe somebody. When you realize that something else is not working, then you bribe that person. Okay, I'll give you money, please do it for me. So he's now saying, I'll hand over all my children to you. Okay, bribe not of money or kingdom or something, but something much more dear than that. Sacrificing one's own children. He says, I will do that. Shri Shukauvacha Swasurvadhan Nivavrite Swasurvadhan Nivavrite Kamsastadvakya Saravit Vasudevopi tam Pritaha Prashasya Pravishad Griham. So Shukadeva now says to Parikshit, he says, having heard that, Kamsa immediately acknowledged that Vasudeva is a honest person. Whatever Vasudeva says, he will do. And so what he is saying is correct. Actually, the voice did not say Devaki will kill me. The voice said, the eighth child of Devaki will kill me. And this guy is so good that he is offering all the eight children. I like killing people and I'll kill all the eight of them and that problem will be solved. After all, I have killed big, powerful personalities. I have killed lions and tigers. Killing a child, will it be a big thing? No problem. I can do that. So this is a good deal. So I can spare my sister and I can also protect my life. So Kamsa was relieved and he immediately let Devaki go. And Vasudeva also was extremely happy. Or this fellow has let Devaki go. बाद में देखा जाएगा क्या होगा बाद में देख लेंगे. So now, very happily with Devaki, he went to his house. He was very happy. So what do we learn from this? Tough situations test and expose a person's real character. So we see here two people who are both put into tough situations. The first is Kamsa. Kamsa is put in a tough situation when he hears a voice that his death is going to come from the child of somebody who is just sitting next to him. And that happens to be his own sister. That's a tough situation. It's like, let's say, uh, you know, let's take an analogy from today's situation. And a brother is driving his sister and her newly married groom, his brother-in-law, to their house or maybe to the hotel Maybe they have booked a room in the five-star hotel to begin their honeymoon. And the brother is driving the car and taking his sister and the groom to that, and they're in a very joyous mood, and there's good music playing in the car's stereo, and everything is happy, and everybody is happy. And suddenly the brother gets a call on his mobile, and everybody can hear it because it's on speaker phone. And so the voice there is a credible voice. It's coming from some very credible source. They all know that whatever that source tells, they all know that person. And that source is telling, look, you're driving that girl, your sister, your so-called sister, but do you know that you're going to die shortly because of the child of that girl? The child who's going to be born is very inauspicious for you. Okay, so now what will the brother do? Of course, in today's world, a brother may not do anything like that. But here, Kamsa is put in an extremely difficult situation. He believes what the voice says, everybody believes that voice. And so he doesn't know what to do, and his character is seen in the action that he immediately performs. The other person whose character is tested is Vasudeva, and he's the same voice, the same scene, and he has to now save a woman who is just married. And it's the job of a husband to protect his wife. And now he's put in a situation where he has to protect his wife from her own brother. Forget about some outsider, some terrorist or something. So, two people's character are tested, and you can see how they behave. And that is the sign of a person's character. Vasudeva thinks intelligently. The other person is reactive, immediately takes up his sword, does not even think, what should I do next? Is it really possible that some child will kill me? No thinking. Straight away goes about trying to kill his sister. The other person calmly thinks. He's got enough strength in him to calm down that guy and reason out with him. When he sees that one line of reasoning doesn't work, he takes to another line of reasoning, immediately comes up with a solution, offers the solution, resolves the matter, and goes back home. Okay, so tough situations test our character. When everything is going well, there's no test of character. When everything is going well, then there is fine, life is good. But when real toughness comes, that's when a person's inner core is seen. And we also see in this narrative that we heard so far about how enjoyment in this world is actually temporary. We see Devaki on the best day of her life, her wedding day, suddenly has to see her own death. Okay, at least during that conversation between Vasudeva and Kamsa, when Vasudeva is speaking, actually, Kamsa is not conversing with him. During that time when Vasudeva is trying to pacify Kamsa, Devaki is just facing death. She's about to lose her head to her own brother's sword. So, just a moment before that, everything was happy. Her father's love, all the chariots, all the maid servants, everything around her was the best it could be, right? No woman would not want a situation like that. If any woman is given a situation like that, she would embrace it, right? It's normal, right? And so would a bridegroom. So, but from that, in just an instant, it becomes the exact opposite. You're going to die now. And this is also a depiction, or this is a message to us of how this can happen to any of us any moment. Everything is going well, suddenly things can change, and the exact opposite can happen. We do see that happening to other people. It has not happened to us so far, God's grace. It is just God's grace that we are protected and we are going on with our life. But we see people around us. We saw in the air crash, we saw in the Pahalgam attack, we saw how people losing their life from one moment of happiness to non existence, or at least non existence in this birth. They have to leave this body, right? And that can happen to anyone, anytime. So that is why it says, uh, Ajaramaravat pragyo vidyamartham cha sadhayet grihita iva kesheshu mrityuna dharmamacharet. A person should acquire knowledge, learning in this world, or money, uh, as if there is no death, or there is no old age. Grihita eva kesheshu means as if death has caught you by the hair. Dharma macharet, mrityuna dharma macharet. As if death has caught you by the hair, one should practice dharma. What does it mean? It means that there is no urgency in accumulating knowledge or wealth, because these things are accumulated over time. They cannot be accumulated overnight. One cannot become knowledgeable from being ignorant overnight. If one has to become knowledgeable, then one has to go through years of learning, years of education. It's a gradual process. Similarly, acquiring money, one should not think, I'll just take a lottery and tomorrow I'll get that lottery's result and I'll win. That's not the way it works. At least it doesn't work for nearly all of us. We have to gradually, by working hard, earn money, or by doing business. Even business, doing a business to make a lot of money is a lot of hard work. So over time, money is accumulated, but not dharma. Dharma is to be done every moment. It is not that, okay, gradually I'll do dharma. Dharma is done the way it should be done. Dharma is done only in the way in which it should be done, and it should be done every moment of our life. Dharma should be lived throughout our life. Grihita eva kesheshu, because any moment death will come. Our opportunity to do dharma and elevate ourselves can go away any instant. So a similar shloka, Shanashaha Kanashashchaiva Vidyamartham cha sadayet, Grihita eva kesheshu mrityuna dharmam acharet. So both these shlokas say the same thing, that dharma is of prime importance. It should be kept above everything else and it should be practiced. And the best form of dharma is Bhagavata dharma, the dharma of listening and engaging in activities that are pleasing to Sri Bhagavan, so that our connection with Bhagavan is established. And with that connection, we experience our true self in the best possible way, with love, with happiness, with full knowledge, and so on. So with this, I will stop for today, and I will be very happy and eager to hear your thoughts, your questions, etc. I'll unmute you, and you can feel free to ask me whatever you wish to ask. I hope my audio was clear to everyone. You could hear me, though I muted everyone.
Yes, sir. Audio was clear.
Thank you.
Pranam, sir.
Yes, Pranam Sarthak.
Sir, I had a couple of questions. So, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Sir, in the beginning of today's session, you mentioned that Shri Bhagwan is always present in Mathura, and this is before the birth of Shri Krishna.
Yeah.
As chronology. So, what exactly do we mean over here? Because Shri Hari is always present everywhere, maybe in the unmanifest form, but there is no place where Shri Bhagwan is not present. So, what exactly did this statement mean?
Mathura, Vrindavan, etc. are referred to as Sri Bhagavan's eternal abodes. Their eternal state of existence is in Mathura. His Nityavas is in Mathura, and the Mathura we see here on the earth is said to be a manifestation of that Mathura. That Mathura, in which Sri Bhagavan eternally exists in different forms. Okay, in Mathura, he lives in Mathura, he exists in Vrindavan. These are different states of existence and different bhav. He manifests himself. So that same Mathura, Vrindavan, etc. are manifested by him on this earth in different spatial locations. So the one that we refer to as Mathura on this earth is said to be a manifestation of that. All the structures and things which we create there are visible to us, but that invisible Mathura is always present there. That's why Sri Bhagavan is always there.
So, but how is it different from any other location? Because Sri Bhagwan is eternally present everywhere. The concept of time and
In
space
other
exists.
locations, yes, in other locations, he's Leela. We refer to his eternal abode as his place of Leelas. His different kinds of activities are performed in that state of existence. He is present everywhere in his avyakta rupa, in the sense that, well, here also he is avyakta. When I say avyakta here, he is not manifesting those leelas there. He is just present there in his consciousness. His consciousness, his awareness is present everywhere. His potencies are present everywhere. But in Mathura, in that state of existence known as Mathura, all his leelas come out. Different types of leelas are performed there.
So, were there any leelas performed before Sri Krishna Leela as well in Mathura?
They were not manifest to us. They are always performed, but they are not manifest to us.
Okay. Okay.
What is manifest to us is only at some point of time in our perception of time.
Mhm.
We perceive and experience time in this world. Time is also a material energy, right? A material
Mhm.
force which influences and conditions us to see things in a particular way. It gives us the sense of before, present, after, etc. Past, present, future. But he doesn't experience that time on himself.
Yes,
It's
yes.
always present there. You understood me? So
So,
Mathura is a state of existence.
sir, is this akin to the reverence that is given to some holy shrines like Sri Jagannath Puri or
Yes, it is
the
second to that.
four
Yes.
palms?
So different places, see, he's got different states of existence and they manifest on this earth in different spatial locations on the earth. For us, it's a spatial location. For him, it's a state of existence. In different, see, Jagannath is also an eternal form of Bhagavan. To us, that form manifests through that activity of Vishwakarma. Indradyumna and Vishwakarma perform some activity here, and through that, he manifests himself in that form. But that form is an eternally existing form, not visible to us. It becomes visible like this, and so for our benefit, it becomes visible in this form. And according to certain rules, we continue to interact with that form.
Right, sir. Sir, this just leads me to another train of thought. So, this reminds me of Prahlad's interaction with his father, Hiranyakashipu, and the manifestation of Sri Nrsimhadev. So, there again, the demon king asks Prahlad that where is Vishnu? And he asks him, where is he not? But for the benefit of Hiranyakashipu, he takes up a grosser form of Narasimha Bhagwan, and then there is this battle between those two.
Yeah, yeah.
So, so he is present everywhere for our benefit. He gets manifest in the way that we can perceive.
Yeah, exactly. So he manifests himself in a way we can perceive and reveals his Nitya Rupam. So the form in which we see him holding a flute with that bluish black complexion and having a peacock feather and hair and all that. So that is his Nitya Rupam. It is not an imaginary form. So he manifests that in front of us, so we know what it looks like. Of course, even when he actually manifests, only people who are eligible to see him like that are able to see him. Not everybody sees that same beautiful form. People see, for example, Kamsa saw him only as a death. He saw him as a human being who might kill him one day. He saw him only like that, as a cowherd boy. But that beautiful form is seen only through the lens of bhakti. To them, he reveals his nature as that supreme Bhagavan. They know that, okay, this is Bhagavan. Like Arjuna knew that this is Bhagavan himself. Although he also was covered, Yogamaya covered that knowledge partially by making him feel that this is my cousin, my dear friend, my most intimate friend, and my cousin, brother. That feeling also was there in Arjuna, along with the knowledge that he is actually Bhagavan. So he could see because he's got bhakti in him. Without that bhakti is a Shakti. It's not just a mental imagination. It is not Kalpana. It is not something we create in our mind. It is an energy that comes into us as we do the sadhana of bhakti. With that energy, we are able to see him as he is. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvataha. Bhakti gives the drishti with which we are able to see him and realize his actual nature and perceive him that way.
Yes, sir. So even though Sri Krishna was present even amongst the Kauravas as well, but since they did not recognize them because of their own ignorance, they could
Yes.
not reap the benefit of Sri Bhagwan manifesting within their own kin. So they could have very easily reaped multiple benefits like the Pandavas did. And one thing that in one of the previous classes, it was observed that Shri Parikshit Maharaj says that his ancestors could defeat the Kauravas very easily
Yeah.
because Shri Krishna was with him. And then you narrated that story wherein Shri Krishna gives a choice that, okay, what do you want? Do you want my army, or do you want me? So, Shri Krishna being with the Pandavas in itself is a victory. Everything else are the symptoms, or say byproducts. So, the victory in the battle was just a byproduct. The real victory was recognizing that Shri Krishna is Shri Bhagwan, and he is with us, he is our friend, and we are in a position to serve him.
Yeah, exactly. That a constant memory and awareness of Bhagavan is the real success. Not the fact that they won the war. That winning the war is not the real success for them. That is just something that Sri Bhagavan wanted and it happened. But their consciousness, their continuous awareness of Bhagavan in their life, they're acting, they're doing all activities in that consciousness, in awareness of Him. So, because of that awareness, even what looks like normally a difficult situation to other people, they don't experience it like that. They are insulted, they are sent to the forest, they go through, they have to deal with Rakshasas in the forest, this, that, they have to live in huts, they have to keep moving from one place to another place, they don't have a permanent shelter. Then they have to go and live with that king in the 13th year. All that would look like suffering to anyone else. And that's what Duryodhana was thinking, that they are suffering, and he was very happy about that. But to them, because of their mind being always absorbed in Bhagavan, always doing activities of bhakti, they did not feel it like that. For them, it didn't matter.
Yes, 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 sir.
So that is where real sweetness of life comes. They enjoy life the best way possible. They were really happy. Duryodhana was miserable. Duryodhana lived in the misery that, after 12 years they will come back. After 12 or 13 years they will be back, and then, again I have to deal with them. What do I do? How can I permanently eliminate them? All the time he was thinking of that only. You could not live. Is that the way somebody should live? A lot of money, everything is there. Army, riches, everybody, everything is with you. But mind is not peaceful. So what is the use? Here, nothing is with them, but mind is very peaceful and full of joy. That is life. They are living. Duryodhana is dying. Every day is dying. Isn't it?
Yes,
Living in hell.
yes. Thank you,
So,
sir.
Mahabharata, this contrast is very nicely brought out by Vyasdevji. And in Bhagavatam, he goes beyond what he says in the Mahabharata. Mahabharata Bhakti is not expanded like the way it is explained in the Bhagavata. Krishna Lila, for example, the way it's described here, it invokes Bhakti in our heart. We get deep attraction to Krishna when we hear this. Compared to Mahabharata, even more. Of course, Mahabharata also we become attracted to Krishna. But here it is much more intense than that, than Mahabharata. That's why he wrote this.
Yes, yes, sir. So basically, finding your happiness, matlab, the locus of happiness, if we keep it to the self or Shri Bhagwan, then that is real happiness. If I
Yes.
place happiness in some external objects or some other person, so then it comes with its own sets of complications and
Yes.
everything.
So even though we have to interact with everybody in this world in the course of our life, we have to interact with people with whom we work, interact with people in our family, interact with so many people. But nobody other than Bhagavan and our Guru, of course. So Guru is the means, or our Guru becomes Bhagavan for us. In the sense, he is equivalent to Bhagavan. Sakshad haritvena samasta shastraihi uktaha. And into prabhoriha priya eva. So he is very dear to Bhagavan, and he is the foremost servant of Bhagavan in our life. So Guru and Bhagavan. So these two are our most, they should occupy our mind all the time, and our deepest attachment should be towards them. And through that, our attachment to everything else. Through them means in their service, all other activities happen. Then everything becomes perfect. All activities become perfect.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, I had
Yes.
one more question.
Ah,
Sorry, you were saying something.
no, Jayashree has lifted her hand, so we can ask her what she wants to say.
Uh, yes, I just wanted to share my understanding on Sarthak's question. Um, this your question was why is Mathura said to be special, isn't it, Sarthak? By Bhagavan, why it is special?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the way to look at that is something like in your house, you have a you know that Bhagavan is everywhere, so he is obviously there all around the house. But the puja room is very special. So when you go to puja room, you go with a specific, mind frame or mind specific uh, way you enter the puja room. Although you know that Bhagwan is there in the living room or the dining room or the kitchen, but the moment you go to the puja room, your mind entirely changes. Or you go and stand in front of a space dedicated for puja. So that it's different. So it's exactly like that with Mathura. Whenever we think of Mathura, we think of Shri Krishna. So all his leelas, everything becomes, I mean, those who know about it. We are talking about people who are aware of his leelas, who are aware of who is Bhagavan. All that. Therefore, Mathura is special. And was Mathura there before Shri Krishna's time? Yes, it was there. This comes in Valmiki Ramayana, where Sri Rama instructs Shatrughna to go and uh, install the city of Madhura. It was called Madhurapuri. Dha, ta, ta, dha, dha, tha, dha, dha. Okay, Mahaprana Dha. So it was called Madhurapuri, and he tells Shatrughna that I'll come and do my leelas in future there. Go and set up that city. So it's called Madhurapuri. And later on, Shatrughna's sons rule that city. One of Shatrughna's sons. So it is mentioned in Ramayana, and in every avatara of Rama and Krishna is Madhurapuri and Mathura will come. So that way also it is eternal.
Thank you, ma'am, for the insights. It was a really beautiful analogy, and I did not know about this part of the Ramayana that you spoke about, Sri Ram
Yeah.
instructing Shatrughna.
Okay. So I was waiting to share this
Thank
viewpoint.
you, ma'am. Thank you for sharing.
Well,
Sarthak, you said you have one more question.
Yes, sir. So this was in regard to what Sri Vasudeva speaks about getting a new birth. So he says that once your next foot is set firm on the ground, then only you lift the previous one. So is that actually true, or was he just trying to convince Kamsa at that point? Because what brings to my mind is, say, the story of Jadabharata. At the point of death, the Kriyaman Karma that takes over his mind at that point was thought of that beloved black buck to him. And then his mind, the Linga Sharira gets associated to a Sthula Sharira of a black buck. So,
No,
what are your comments on this?
so the allocation of his birth as the baby of a black buck has already been decided before he leaves this body. Because of their intense attachment to the current black buck, that baby of a black buck, because of that intense attachment, the attachment is increasing. So as he's about to leave his body, he's already entered that. His consciousness has already entered that. He doesn't know that. He doesn't know that. He's already made a place there, and that he's about to enter that body. At that time, he leaves from here. So that's what it means. So simultaneously, both happen.
So just before he left, since the consciousness is since the consciousness is absorbed during the last moment, so at that point the home has been made in the new
Yes,
body.
yes. That body is ready. That body, that birth is ready as an embryo. How does it happen? The Atma enters the body of the mother, right, into the womb of the mother, and takes a small grain, like a small grain, it resides there, gets a very small coating of matter, it resides there, the Atma is inside there. Okay, that in biology is also called fertilization of the egg or something, right? So that happens just as he's leaving the body here. So you can say that both are happening just next to each other. That's what he means by saying that only after the next, he's put his foot in the next place, the previous foot is lifted. So that has been decided and it's ready.
So that statement is not misleading. It is actually true. What he
Yeah, it's
said.
actually true. Yeah, it's actually true.
Yes.
We should take it as it is.
Yes, sir.
So that is why that's another reason. From that perspective, also, it is said that it's explained why it is important to always be thinking of Bhagavan all the time. Because when we think of Bhagavan and ourselves as a das of Bhagavan, our identity as only as a das of Bhagavan, then when we leave this body, naturally we get a body which will be the body of a das of Bhagavan, where our dasatva becomes even more prominent. Our dasatva gets an even better existence than it is now, right? So instead of thinking of yourself as the deer, thinking of yourself as a deer or thinking of yourself as something else, thinking of yourself as the das of Bhagavan, that consciousness takes us into a birth or existence, if not a material body, whatever body, where we continue to be existing as das forever, which is what we want. Mama janmani janmani ishware bhavatat bhakti rahetu ketu. May I always have your bhakti. The Sikshashtakam prayer.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So that's the reason why it's important to always have that mentality that I am a das. That's why in the morning we get up, the first sadhana of the morning is about chanting his name. And in the name, we chant the name considering ourselves as das of Bhagavan. It's an activity of seva done to him as a das. And throughout the day, whatever we do is done as a das of Bhagavan. Bhagavad Dasoham, or das of our Guru. Dasa Dasanudasa. Das of the servant of Bhagavan. So that consciousness is what carries us to the right place. That is the message of this, of bhakti.
Yes. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. No more questions today? We can close then. I want you to also chant the Hare Krishna as I do the Antyamangalam. Please chant Mahamantra with me. Om Swasti Prajabhyah Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishah Gobrahmanebhyo Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samastah Sukhino Bhavantu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. सर्वेभ्यो नमस्काराः, धन्यवादाः.